Judge, it looked like someone was trying to assault you in there.
Well, good afternoon. I'm sorry I was talking to myself muted.
Afternoon, Judge.
How are you doing?
Afternoon.
Uh,
Pretty good. You?
I'm all right. Can I see Mr. Vargas?
Yes, sir.
Um,
Hi, sir. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How
All
about
right,
yourself?
Mr. Vargas, we spoke earlier this week, and you had indicated that you had hired Mr. Keithley or your dad or somebody. It's my understanding you don't have Mr. Keithley as your attorney, so I want to go ahead and go through the extradition issues that that only you can make a decision on, sir. You have a right to fight extradition proceedings back to the state of is it South Dakota?
Yes, sir.
Or you can waive extradition proceedings and have South Dakota come get you. It's up to you, sir.
I'm not signing no papers, sir.
Okay. Do you wish to have an attorney appointed, sir, if you qualify?
Yes, sir. But I know my grandfather was gonna get Steve Keithley to still come up here. He was gonna go talk to him today. I just got off the phone with him, and we're trying to still get the ball rolling on that. He's trying to figure out what's going on because I still don't, like I said, on these charges, I don't know who it's against. I don't know what it's about. I haven't lived in that state for 6 years. So like I said, sir, I really just don't know what's going on. So we're still trying to, figure out what's all going on with the charges that I'm being put on.
Okay. Well, it's my understanding your attorney's on vacation, so unless he's going to meet with him remotely. Anyway, but that's up to you, sir. I will let you contact Mr. Keithley or whoever. So at this time, you're not wishing for the court to consider appointment of counsel. You're going to hire counsel.
What did you say, sir?
You're going to hire an attorney. Is that correct?
Let me go ahead and go ahead and give me one, sir. And then I'm gonna still try and get my own, if I can.
Okay.
Because I'd like Mr. Steve to represent me,
Well-
if he can. But
Hold on one second, sir. You're going to have to. I will have the indigent defense coordinator contact you. Okay.
and who's that, sir? I've never heard of that, sir.
Her name is Courtney Peters.
Okay.
She'll get in contact with you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So at this time, that concludes this hearing. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Go back, Mark. Just don't let the door slam.
Thank you.
We've already, Judge, we've already started I've contacted South Dakota and they're in the process of getting a governor's warrant.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
We've kind of been going back and forth. I mean, I thought he had an attorney, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we got Alberto Soto. That's our next one and only one for.
Gustavo Soto?
Yes, Gustavo Alberto. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Gustavo Alberto Soto.
All right. Come on, sir.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Okay, we ready to go?
We are.
All right.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, we'll go on the record in D40961, State versus Gustavo Alberto Soto. I have counsel for both sides present, defendants present. Mr. Soto, is that your full and complete name?
Sir.
You cut out. Did you say yes, sir? Or did you say yes?
I said, yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Soto, you're charged with the offense of unauthorized use of a vehicle in the indictment, and then there enhancement paragraphs have been alleged in the indictment. It's the court's understanding, sir, you wish to enter a plea of guilty to the offense of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and enter pleas of true to the enhancement paragraphs. Is that correct?
Sir.
All right. And sir, do you understand what you're pleading guilty to?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hayden, do you wish to waive a reading of the indictment?
We do.
Record can reflect. Mr. Soto, I have documents that appear to have your signature on them. They are written waivers, written plea admonishments, a waiver of your right of appeal, a judicial confession, and an evidence discovery log. Did you sign these documents?
Yes, sir.
Did your attorney go over them with you?
Yes, sir.
And you understood everything you've signed?
Yes.
Mr. Soto, you understand you have a right to have a jury trial and you're waiving that right.
Yes.
You understand you also have a right to have that same jury assess punishment should you have been found guilty.
Yes.
Are you a citizen of the United States?
You said if I'm a citizen?
Yeah, are you, I'm sorry, are you a citizen?
Yes, I'm a citizen of the United States, yeah.
All right. Now, sir, this was indicted. The charge itself is a state jail felony, punishable anywhere from 180 days up to 2 years in state jail and a fine not to exceed $10,000. You understand the range as the charge of unauthorized use.
Can you repeat that again?
You understand that the original charge by itself, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, is a state jail felony.
Yes, I do. I understand.
Now you understand by the enhancements, it makes it punishable as a second degree felony, punishable anywhere from 2 to 20 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division and a fine not to exceed $10,000. You understand the range?
Yes, I do understand.
It's the court's understanding, sir, you've entered into a plea agreement with the state through your attorney.
Yes, sir.
Now, the court will not agree to be bound by the plea agreement. However, if the court follows the plea agreement, it does cut off your right of appeal except by permission of the court. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And you're entering your pleas of true also freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand the consequences of pleading guilty and true?
Yes, sir.
Your attorneys, Mr. Hayden, are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Hayden, your client certainly at this point in time appears sane and mentally competent. Anything he said or done that would cause you to believe otherwise?
No, sir.
Court this time will find the defendant sane and mentally competent. Court will find the defendant has freely and voluntarily entered his plea of guilty, that he understands the consequences of his plea of guilty. The court will accept that plea of guilty and find the defendant guilty should the evidence prove him guilty. I have in front of me states 1, a judicial confession signed by the defendant. The state's seeking to have that exhibit admitted.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
It's admitted. Anything further from either side?
No, Your Honor.
State have a recommendation.
The state's recommendation of a finding of guilt on the charge and then finding of true on the enhancement is 2 years to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice System. Court cost of $290 and jail time credit of 77 days.
And you said 2 years?
2 years, yes.
Mr. Hayden, is that you and your client's understanding?
It is.
All right. Mr. Soto, the court, based on your plea of guilty and the evidence that's been admitted, the court will find you guilty of the offense alleged in the indictment, find the enhancement paragraphs to be true. It's the judgment of the court, sir, that you are sentenced to 2 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division with court costs to be assessed. Attorney's fees are waived. Any reason why sentence should not be pronounced?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir, you are sentenced to 2 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division. You're remanded to the custody of sheriff, who will transport you to the appropriate facility, begin serving out the sentence. This sentence begins today. You are given credit on this sentence and Ms. Schumer, what did you say?
77 days.
77 days. Any day thereafter, you're awaiting transport, okay?
All right, thank you.
Sir, do you have any other cases pending here in Navarre County?
No, I don't.
All right,
Sir, so I'm getting on my back time, right?
yes, sir.
77 days, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, sir. Good luck to you. In this case, you waived your right of appeal. That concludes this hearing. Bailiff will come over and get your prints momentarily, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
That's everybody, right, Judge?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I always find it interesting when different judges say, different things in the same way. I had this one judge up in Wise County that would say, and you're pleading guilty because you are guilty and for no other reason than the fact that you're guilty.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, that's too much for me to remember to say.
I was always like, how many times can he say guilty in one sitting?
You just want to make sure it's really going to stick.
May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, too.
Mr. Hayden, do we need to have anyone's name called?
Yeah. Yes, just to be on the safe side. I don't show up, but
Just looking for, that's your client, Miss Gatewood, I see.
his name is Gregory Clopton is his name.
Gregory Clopton. Clopton. Okay, we'll go on the record and cause number D21-29728-CV in the interest of Emily Clopton, a child. I have the petitioner present, represented by Micah Hayden. And the respondent's name is going to be called 3 times, Gregory Clopton. There's been no response. And I guess, Mr. Hayden, do you wish to call your client?
Yeah, hang on just a second. Let me ask Debbie something, Judge.
Okay.
Gotcha. That's all. Yeah, Judge, I was just making sure we had good service.
Okay.
All good. Yeah, we're ready to go, Judge. We'd ask the court to take judicial notice of its file, the returns on file.
Court will take judicial notice.
And at this time, we would call the petitioner, Heidi Gatewood.
All right, ma'am, do you want to raise your right hand? You'll have to unmute yourself as well. There you go.
Okay.
Ma'am, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed.
All right, Ms. Gatewood, you're the petitioner in this case. In other words, the party who's seeking the termination of the rights of Gregory Christopher Clopton. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he was he ever adjudicated the father of Emily?
Was he what?
There was a prior court proceeding, correct, in Henderson County?
Yes.
And so he was found to be the father of Emily. Is that correct?
He never
Yes.
petitioned. Yeah, he's her father.
You're right. And were the two of you married?
At one time, yes.
Okay. And this child was a child of that marriage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now then, and the child was born on Emily was born on October 19th of 2007.
Yes.
And y'all now reside in Navarre County and have for at least 6 months, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, this case, based on your residence here, was transferred from Henderson County to Navarre County. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And There's no protective order that's been filed or been issued by any court against Mr. It's still in effect against Mr. Cloppin. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we're not seeking any type of protective order today, are we?
No,
The child doesn't own any property of any consequence, other than maybe some personal effects. She doesn't own any real estate or anything of any of that nature, correct?
no,
And you're seeking a termination in this case. And basically, in effect, the child, he hasn't had any contact with her and hadn't paid any support for a long period of time. Is that correct?
that's correct.
When was the last time that Mr. Compton had contact with his child?
She was less than 2.
Less than 2?
Yes.
Okay. And when's the last time he's paid any support?
A couple months ago, but it wasn't his full obligation.
Right, but there's been at least one period of at least 1 year.
Yeah,
he's
he
not paid
owes
us.
over quite a bit in back child support.
All right. Now then, do you believe you represent adequately represent the interest of the child? In other words, you don't think you have anything in conflict with?
No, this is what she wants.
All right. And the whole idea here is to gain a termination so that we can do a step parent adoption. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And so do you believe it's in the best interest of the child that Mr. Clopton's rights be terminated?
Yes.
And I believe that's all we're seeking. Is that correct?
Yes.
We passed the witness this time, Judge.
Okay, and you don't have any other witnesses, do you?
We do not.
Court has already taken judicial notice of the file. Court, based on the testimony, will grant the relief that's requested, finds in the best interest of the child, and I guess we'll see you again, ma'am, in the near future on another proceeding in the same with your daughter.
Thank you.
All right.
Judge, we should have submitted you should have a order termination, but if not.
Yeah, I've got it. I was waiting until the hearing, so I'll sign
Okay.
it. Okay, that concludes this hearing.
Thank you. We're excused.
Yes, y'all have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend.
You have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you, Judge.
Hey, Melissa, you asked me a question, but it's not letting me send you a message. Melissa, did you hear me?
Judge, may I be excused?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Judge.
Hey, you too.
Bye. Thank you.
Melissa, did you get my message?
Judge,
Yes, ma'am.
Tamara's here in my office, and she was wondering where the PC affidavit is because the clerk nor the JP have it, and she said that.
I tried to send you a message and not going through. I gave it to the ranger, and it should. I don't know where it is. It should be, and maybe in the jail file.
Okay. She's here, so she heard. So we'll see if we can't locate it. Do you know what ranger it was?
Sweeney.
Sweeney. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Yeah. You can go home. You can go home.
anything. How come I can't hear anything? Well, take it on, I can't hear anything. It has like, it's like a so, microphone. Sí, voy a lo estoy on.
All right, thank, we got everybody here. I know we have our same witness, Ryan Robertson.
That's correct. So, Your Honor, I'm gonna pick up from where we left it and
Yeah.
continue that questioning.
Okay. Leslie, you ready?
I am, thank you.
Okay, we'll come out of recess and you may resume. You're direct.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, basically, I was asking her about how often the physical abuse episodes would occur. And after that, I want to focus on asking her if Ryan, have you ever seen the respondent hurting your mom, Chelsea Setsko, back in Hawaii?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna object to this as being not relevant for anything. She's not party to this, and it's not relevant. We're gonna get into a whole lot of other stuff about the mom, her drug abuse, all of that.
In response to that, I would say that it's important because witnessing how your stepdad hurt your mom is another way of violence.
Okay, hold on one second. I'll overrule the child. The witness that's on the stand currently is named as one of the parties that's seeking to be protected. So you may answer that question.
Yes.
All right. And can you describe just one example of what you saw in those occasions?
Often he would hit her, like punch her in the face. She would have black eyes. Her teeth would be her lips would be busted. One time he threatened to pull a knife on her when he was drunk.
All right. And were your other siblings witnessing also those actions sometimes?
Yes.
Right. So will you see marks, bruises, lacerations, or any kind of visible injuries on your mom's body?
Yes.
How many times will you say that you have seen your mom, bruises on your mom's body, or marks or lacerations?
Twice, maybe 3 times.
Okay. And that when would that happen? Like over the last couple of years, or farther back in time?
Yeah, it was back when they were together.
Like 3 years ago, maybe?
Maybe 4.
Okay.
4.
Okay. So so I wanna just get back to the sequence of episodes that we were dealing with prior to the recess. I want to ask you about what happened to your little brother, your little sibling, Donald Jr., who is aged 7, right? What happened, like, as soon as you got here, as soon as you moved from Hawaii to Corsica?
My brother had flushed a radish down the toilet, and he didn't tell Walter, who was plunging the toilet. And when Walter found out, he had backhanded my brother, and he fell to the floor, and he continued to kick him and backhand him some more. My brother got a bloody nose, and his face was scratched up, and he had a bruised ear after that.
Did you see all that?
Yes, I was in the room.
You were in the room? Okay. Was your little brother hurting?
Yes, he was screaming.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you a question. How do you feel since, or how have you been feeling since your stepfather, the respondent, was under, I mean, since he's not around in the household anymore, right after the incident of the 25th, because of the emergency protective order?
I feel a lot more relaxed, I guess, because we were conditioned into thinking that our whole lives were just supposed to be full of fear and tension, and we thought living like that was okay. And now this break has been kind of telling me this isn't okay, that none of that was okay, and that wasn't normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just feel a lot more safe.
Okay.
I don't have to worry about getting hollered at. I don't have to worry about getting hit. I don't have to worry about any of that anymore.
And are you okay living with your grandfather?
Yes.
Does he take care of you all?
Yes, back home I would have to make their food, and I don't have to do any of that anymore. He takes care of us like a parent.
Okay. Are you afraid of the idea that Walter Setsko could be around back in the house?
I'm afraid of what he might do. I think maybe he might be mad at me for testifying against him.
Understandable.
I'm scared.
I understand. All right. So at this point, Your Honor, I don't have any further questions. I pass the witness.
All right.
All right. You mean to start, Jan?
Yes, sir.
All right. What's her name? Ryan?
Yes.
Yes, here it is. You said that you testified earlier that your father backhanded you on February the was it February the 21st? Whenever the incident 20 what?
25th.
February the 25th. You recall testifying to that?
Yes.
Okay. And you said the first time he backhanded you, where did he hit you?
On my leg.
He hit you on your
My
leg.
thigh.
Beg pardon?
Yes.
So he
My thigh.
backhanded on your thigh. Okay, that was the first time he backhanded you. The second time he backhanded you, where did he hit you?
I can't recall.
Okay, but it wasn't on your face or in your nose or anything like that.
No.
Now, did the when he backhanded you, were you saying anything to him?
No. I'm too scared.
You didn't say anything. Had he said anything to you about smoking pot?
No.
Okay.
He never mentioned it.
No, hold on. You did not smoke pot in the room with Joe. With your beg pardon?
I did.
You did smoke pot in the room with Joe. And did your father find out that you had smoked pot in the room with Joe?
He was there.
That's not my question. Did he find out you had smoked pot with Joe?
Yeah.
Your Honor, objection there. I mean, since the witness is saying that Walter was there, the question formulated by Mr. Polk has no purpose at all. How
No,
can you find out? How can you find out if she was smoking pot? If
what's the objection?
Walter was there in the room?
The objection, my objection was I asked a question that required yes or no. I asked, did he find out about it? She said he was there. Yes, he did find out about it.
Just answer yes or no, and we'll move on.
Okay. Now, was he displeased with the fact that you were smoking pot with Joe?
He was smoking with us. He was okay with it.
Okay.
Okay. And that was not what fueled the argument between you and him.
Pardon?
That was not what fueled the argument between you and him. What?
No.
Okay. Now, you used the phrase backhanded, meaning he's hit you with his hand. Is that right? On some part of your body.
Yes.
And you referred to him backhanding some of the other kids. Did he spank with his hands?
Yes.
Now, when you were in Hawaii, did you all keep the? Did y'all have rules there that you had to abide by?
Keep the house clean. Just keep it clean. Keep ourselves clean.
Feed the kids.
Feed the kids for me because I had to.
Okay. Now, did he? Were there ever complaints about that the house wasn't clean, or that y'all hadn't done some things, put up away things that you were supposed to do?
Objection,
Yes.
Your Honor, that's not relevant at all. I mean, that doesn't have any bearing on whether there has been family violence or not. We are kind of like departing from what the debate should be focused on.
I'll overrule. I'll give you a little latitude, Mr. Pope, but then move on to the next issue.
Sure. My question was again, was there discipline for not keeping the house clean?
Yes.
And was corporal punishment or yelling and all that part of the time a part of his complaints about you not keeping the house clean?
I wouldn't exactly call it corporal.
Okay. Okay. My question is, did he yell at you or call your names because you didn't have the house clean?
Yes.
And he hit you. Did he also spank because the house wasn't clean?
Objection, Your Honor. He is introducing the term spank. Spank has connotations that we are not considering here. We are talking about whether this child has been hit, has been hurt. Spanking is different. Mr. Polk is trying to draw the attention to some other aspects of a corporal punishment, spanking. So he's introducing those terms in his questions in order to confuse and mislead the witness.
Well, I'll overrule. Ma'am, you may respond, and I understand what's before the court.
You recall my question, ma'am?
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Yes. The question was, did he use corporal punishment and yelling or calling names because the house wasn't kept clean or things like that?
Yes.
And that upset you, is that true? I mean, would it be fair to say that kind of conduct upset you?
I was doing it by myself. I had no help.
What did that have to do with my question about whether you got upset?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's all we asked. That's all you had to say was yes. It didn't require anything else. You feel upset that you had to keep, are you the oldest?
Yeah.
do you feel upset with him because you were left there and you had to clean the house by yourself, as you say, as you describe it?
Objection, Your Honor, that has no relevance at all. Why, the reasons behind.
I'll sustain. Let's move on.
Um,
Well, did Mr. Sesko work?
yes,
How often did he work?
he worked every day for hours. He was gone from 5 in the morning till 7 at night.
Okay. And that would you would not disagree with the fact that he was working 70 hours a week? That's 10 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's
I
true.
didn't hear your answer. My phone, I got a blank there.
Yes.
And that he didn't have any support from anybody else to take care of all of y'all.
Right.
Nobody else was supporting him while he was doing this. And where did you live?
We lived in a three-room house. It was, we lived in Hawaii, we just down the road was the beach, it was a nice house.
You lived in a nice house. And do you have any idea how much it cost a month to live in that house?
It was 2,500, was it?
Okay.
Somewhere around.
It's cost $2,500 a month just for the house. Did he also buy you clothes?
Yes.
And were they designer clothes?
Yes.
Did he also be sure that you got your necessities, the things that you needed for school?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, that is not relevant. We are not judging how the respondent was taking care of the kids. I mean, that is a discussion.
You brought that up. He brought it up.
I didn't.
Okay.
I believe I didn't.
All right, we'll pass the witness.
Further questions?
Well, just one question. Ryan Robertson. That incident referred by Mr. Polk about you smoking marijuana with Joe. I just want to make sure that that this is clear. Was the respondent there smoking marijuana with you all?
Yes.
So, will he offer marijuana to you all?
Pardon?
Would he offer marijuana to you all?
Yes.
Okay. Another question.
We don't object to his leading questions.
It's not leading questions. It's just a very straightforward question. Did he offer you marijuana?
Yeah, I'll overrule it. It's yes or no.
Okay. Just one more question. You said before that you admit that your stepdad used to work hours and hours a week when you lived in Hawaii, right? That is not under discussion. You admit that. So if he spent so much time out of the household working, who would be in charge of taking care of especially the smaller kids?
It was me. I took care of them. I did their laundry. I fed them. I helped them with their schoolwork. I cleaned up after them. I did everything for them. I was their mom.
And so you are referring to the time when your stepfather and your mom got divorced, like 4 years ago. So, but at that time you were like 12 years old.
Yes.
Okay, so from 12 years old all through this time until you moved to Texas, while your dad was like working really hard, you were the only person in charge of the entire household?
Yes.
Okay. He wouldn't provide you with any help, like any other.
I'm gonna object now, because if this is irrelevant, why are you going over it?
Well, you started.
Because when I was going over this, the argument was it was irrelevant.
I take it back. I take it back.
You're coming back and you want to bring it all up, and
All right.
you
I take it
made
back.
it relevant.
Okay, I take it back. I don't have any further question, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Your Honor. How many days you testified about all the bruises and everything that happened to you? How many days did you miss from school as a result of injuries?
I didn't miss any. I missed one day after the incident because I needed some time.
What day? What incident?
After
Hold on. I'm going to object to Mr. Setsko telling this witness about what to say while she's testifying.
Who?
His name is the father, the grandfather. He's over. I can hear him telling her what to say. He's right there next to her.
Okay. Yes, only the witness can answer the questions with no assistance from any other individuals. Okay, state your question over again.
My question was, the original question was, how many days had you missed from school as a result of injuries from discipline and anything else? You said you missed one day, and I said, what day was that?
Missed one day. It was after his arrest.
So you missed one day. Other than that one day, you not missed any days out from school from injury.
No, he would make us whatever. Yeah, no.
How many days did any of the other children that are involved in this case miss?
Objection, Your Honor. That's irrelevant, and probably she's not in the position to determine how many days each of the 4 children missed. I mean, it doesn't have any kind of relation to the fact that there was, family violence occurred. I mean, you can. I mean, just let's get back a little bit, and let's remember that Ryan Robertson testified this morning that when her sister was beaten up, the respondent made her cover all the bruises with clothes to go to school. So they probably didn't miss any day, or they missed, but that's not relevant. That doesn't make up the fact.
What was the question?
I asked how many days did any of these kids miss from school as a result of injuries from Mr. Setsko having, assaulted them.
That is not.
Or assaulted them or disciplined them, whatever.
That's not relevant. We are not like examining.
Let me finish. And since you want to bring up relevance, yes, it is relevant because he's allowed to discipline the kids, and and you have to have more than he used force. You have to show the severity of the injuries or something like that. So I'm trying to. It is relevant. So if you're claiming that all this occurred prior to in Hawaii, we want to know how severe any of these injuries.
It's irrelevant.
I'll sustain. Let's move on.
Pass the witness.
Any other questions of this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
I mean, not to this witness.
I'm sorry?
Not to this witness.
Okay. You can call your next witness.
Okay. I'm calling Donna Setsko, the applicant, to stand.
All right, sir, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can y'all give me 1 second? Melissa, my messaging is not working. Does she need to talk to me now?
She said she can wait for you to finish.
Okay. It just may be a while.
Okay, thank you.
What is her number?
399. She's here in my office. She can hear you.
Oh, y'all give me 1 second. I have a lot of other things that are kind of coming up. Just give me 1 second to recess.
Sure. Thank you, John.
I've known him what, 10 years, 12 years. Since I know him like 12 years.
John? This gentleman called John. Can you please mute your computer?
Computer, I do that. Okay, he's got it.
Sorry about that. All right. Mr. Pope, whenever you're done on the phone, we can resume. Okay, we'll come out of recess and you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Sesko, good afternoon, first of all. Can you tell the court where you reside? Where your residence located?
Say that again?
Can you tell the court where your residence is?
9006 Southeast County Road 2175 in Corsicana, down near the lake.
All right. So are you retired or you are still working?
Yes. I'm retired. I have a small cattle ranch.
Okay, that's what you were doing before retiring, right?
Yes.
All right. So when did your son and his 4 children move to Corsicana from Hawaii?
He moved here. He brought the kids here in early January and stayed for about a week and then went back to Hawaii.
Why did he went back to Hawaii?
He went back to Hawaii to finish closing his house and packing his property and shipping it here.
All right. So then he came back here, like, when was that? Like early February?
Yeah, early February, yes.
Okay. All right. Before they moved to your house, to your residence, who will you be living with?
My son, Joe, 16.
Okay. And his mother is your ex-wife, correct? Kitty Setsko, right?
Yes.
All right. When did you get divorced? Approximately.
Something like 3 years ago. About 3 years ago.
All right. Okay. So so during the few days that Walter Setsko was actually residing in your house, from the time that he got there until he got arrested, how will you describe your relationship with him?
It was okay. And we had some events where we disagreed over things, and he doesn't agree to disagree on anything, but we dealt with it.
Okay. So did you really specifically ask him to come over, to move over with his family to Corsicana?
He told me back in, I don't know, the middle of last year that his kids and he wanted to move to Corsicana, and I offered to help them and offer them a place to live while he found a job and got a home of his own.
Okay. Had the kids been to Texas before?
I didn't understand that.
Have the kids been to Texas before? Did they come to visit you prior to them moving here?
Yes, he did. He brought the children to stay with me for the summer back in 2018 and 2019.
Okay. So during those days until he got arrested, would he drink at home?
Yes.
In front of you and in front of the kids?
Yes.
What kind of alcoholic beverages would he drink?
I saw him drink beer and wine.
Beer and wine, okay. Would you describe him like a heavy drinker?
Yes.
Okay. Would he get angry with you and the kids during that time? Was there like a rough environment, like tension with, especially with you at some point?
Yes.
Okay. And before them moving to Corsicana, how was your relationship with him? Like, would you talk to him on the phone often?
Yes, we talk quite a bit on the phone. You know, at least once a week, typically 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay. All right. So, do you allow Joe to drink in the house or to smoke weed in the house?
No.
So, if you saw Joe smoking or drinking alcohol, you would tell him to put that stuff away or to go outside the house or whatever, right? But you would reprimand him, right?
It was absolutely clear those things were not permitted.
Okay. Right. So the night of the 25th of February, I'm going to ask you a few questions about that incident that ended up with a respondent being arrested. That night, was the respondent drunk?
Yes.
Right. So that night you saw him drinking.
Yes.
Right. So can you explain to the court what happened that night after dinner? Because I believe that is when everything triggered.
We had dinner, and since my operation, after I eat, I get real tired, so I laid down to take a nap. I awoke to the sound of a lot of screaming and hollering in the house. I get up, put my pants on, and went out the bedroom door and heard him hollering in the garage, and walked out there and saw him standing over Ryan, pointing his finger at her and hollering at her. And using obscenities and calling her names and
What kind of names, if you recall, what kind of names will he be calling her?
liberal bitch. Liberal bitch. He uses profanity in there. Asshole. There was so many things and so much profanity.
Okay, so what happened after that? Do you actually see him hitting her?
I did not see him hit her at that time. No.
Okay. So what happened after that?
I spoke up. I said, Walter, what's going on? And he turned around and he saw me standing there and he charged toward me and told me it was none of my damn business and get the hell out of there and he actually chased me into the kitchen and angry, hollering at me, and he pulled the chair out from the kitchen table and made me sit in it, and he was hollering at me, and then at some point all of a sudden Joe was there and he chased Joe out of the house, hollering and screaming at him. It was amazing. It was like he was standing in the doorway, hollering at the outside, calling Joe a damn liberal, a damn faggot, and all kinds of names, and just on and on. And then he came back to hollering at me, and he hollered at Ryan a couple times, and then Joe managed to go around to the garage and shut the main off to the electricity in the house so that Walter couldn't turn on the outside lights to find him. And that seemed to settle things down a little bit. I mean, I was doing everything I could not to make it worse, you know, not to promote him into doing something. I was terrified of him. I mean, here's this guy, he's a what, 240-pound construction worker, trained in martial arts and having martial arts fights on the internet. And I mean, I was terrified of him.
And when he confronted you, when he turned around and confronted you, did he push you or shove you? did he apply any kind of force on you?
I retreated into the kitchen, and then he grabbed hold of me and physically searched me all over to see if I had his telephone. And I did, and he took it away from me, and he said, nobody's going to call the police while I'm here.
Right. And did he make you actually sit on a chair?
Yes, he demanded I sit in a chair, and after Joe turned the power off, he got a flashlight and he held it in my face, and he was screaming at me. His face was like 5 inches away from me while he was screaming and hollering at me and holding a light in my face.
Okay. Okay. So you felt terrified about that, right?
Yes.
Right. So do you see that night any injury on Ryan's body, on Ryan's face as a consequence of the incident?
Yes, her lip was bleeding and swollen, and she had a bruise on her forehead.
Okay. Right. So at this point, I would like to offer as an evidence the exhibit number 1, and that is the police report that I believe that Mr. Polk is not going to admit, but it contains certain pictures that were taken by the police officer that night, and they depict Ryan's face, and you can clearly see that, you know, like some laceration on the lips. Can I just show that in the screen, or Mr. Polk that has a copy of it is going to be okay with those pictures? I mean, they were pictures taken by the police.
I'm going to object to it as being hearsay. The pictures, I don't have the person here who took the pictures, neither do you, and I'm objecting to it on the grounds of hearsay.
Okay, so
I would like to have the officer here to ask him some questions myself, personally.
So
I don't have the officer that to do the authentication of that pictures, obviously, but everyone saw how the officers took the picture, and they are attached to the police report, which is what I have presented as a exhibit number 1.
okay, so the exhibit number 1 is the offense report.
Yeah, it's the office report.
Okay.
And it contains a bunch of pictures that obviously were taken by the police officers. Now, I don't have the police officer here to authenticate those pictures. Okay.
Okay. And Mr. Polk, you're objecting to the admission of the office report, which does include the pictures?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I would like to have the officer here to cross-examine.
And what? Okay. My understanding of the law is will cause me to make a ruling to sustain the objection. Let's proceed.
Okay. So when the respondent was chasing Joe around the house, and Joe went outside, like trying to escape from him, he was yelling at him. That's what I understood. Is that correct?
Yes, I mean, while he was hollering at me, once in a while he would go to the door and start hollering out the door, and he'd go to the back door, the front door, and he'd go to the garage door, and he'd be hollering and screaming outside, calling him names.
And we are talking about Joe, who is your son. So
Yes.
Joe is not someone who has been living with him back in Hawaii. Joe was living here before. So
Yes.
he's not very close to him. He's not, I mean, he's just someone, a relative.
Yes, this is not asking the question. He's making his arguments here.
Okay, I take it back. Yeah.
Question.
Okay, yeah. So what kind of names would he tell Joe when he was chasing him and hollering at? Can you recall specific ones?
Fucking faggot, goddamn liberal, communist, America hating little bastard. And he would holler out one door and he'd come back to hollering at me, and then he'd go to the other door and start hollering out that door. It was wild.
Okay. All right, so at this point, I don't have a further question, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Pope?
Yes, sir. Mr. Setsko, did you have surgery sometime during the early part of the year?
I had both knees replaced in December. And then after Walter returned to the kids, one of the knees got infected, and I was in the hospital for 4 days while they cut that open and took the infection out.
Okay. Now, prior to that, you did testify that you and Walter talked on the phone frequently. Did you?
Yes.
Did you tell him that you had both knees replaced?
Did I what?
Did you tell him on the phone that you had both knees replaced while he was in Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay. And did you also tell him that did you have to take medication and shots and stuff daily?
I think so.
You think so, or did you?
He already
I
answered.
don't remember
He already
the
answered.
conversation.
I can't get both of you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
My question was, did you tell him that you had to take shots and medications daily?
I'm not sure what I told him in that regard.
Okay. Did you ever mention anything about you needed some help with trying to take care of your place there because of your
I didn't need any help from him. I mean, I have an ex-wife I'm already friendly with, and it was a nurse. She came by a few times a week, and I have a stepdaughter who lives down the road with her husband who came by a few times a day, and I have a 16-year-old son who has a car. Who I didn't need his help.
You didn't need his help. You didn't tell him that you needed his help. You need some help here.
No.
Okay. Okay. Now you don't know. You said you after dinner you went to all the parties went to sleep. Is that correct? You went to sleep
After dinner, yes.
So you don't know what transpired between the time you went to sleep and the time you went to the garage.
Correct. Except that I woke up to a lot of screaming.
You woke up to a lot of screaming and hollering. All right. Now, had you ever seen Walter smoking pot with Joe?
No.
You ever seen Walter smoking pot with his daughter?
No.
You ever seen Walter drinking beer with his daughter?
No.
And all right. We'll pass the witness.
Mr. Palomik, do you have any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other witnesses?
Just the last one, it's gonna be Walter, the respondent. I have just a very few questions.
All right, sir, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give in this case will be the truth, all the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Setko. I have a few questions for you. I hope you answer them truthfully. Have you ever been convicted of in a criminal case?
Yes.
Right. How many times?
5.
5.
I'm going to say 5.
Okay. Have you ever been to prison? Have you ever done time in prison?
Yes.
All right. how many times, if you remember?
Once.
Once?
Yes.
In what state?
In Hawaii, well, it was a concurrent sentence. So it was one time to prison for 2 prison sentences.
But you only have been to prison in Hawaii. Is that true?
No, California, I was convicted and I was extradited to Hawaii to serve that prison sentence concurrently.
And what was that conviction about?
Which one?
The one in California that well, the same one, right? Because you were convicted in California and you got and you continue that sentence in Hawaii, correct?
Yes, that was a what is the term? It's a conspiracy to commit a felony was the conviction.
And what was the felony?
I'm sorry, that was the felony.
What was the felony that you were?
That is a felony.
Huh?
That is a felony. That's what I did my time for.
Conspiracy to commit a felony.
That was the conviction and what I served my time for.
All right, but what is the felony that you were conspired to?
There was never any litigation. It was never specified in the court.
Well, but the charge, but you were charged by conspiracy to commit a felony. So my question is, what is that felony that you conspired to commit?
That was not part of the sentencing. That was not specified as part of the sentencing.
But it was part of the charge. What I'm asking you is
Objection. If the client
I just wanna know the nature.
I can't get both of you.
Yeah, there's,
I have an objection.
I want to know the nature of the charge.
Well, objection, Your Honor. This question's been asked and answered. My client has testified. He doesn't know what the Pacific conspiracy was, and it was never brought up to him. So that's his answer.
Okay, let me reformulate the question.
okay, do that then.
Right. So, Mr. Shetsko, was that crime related to drugs?
I have never had a drug conviction in my life. No. Is that
All right. Did you get arrested in California?
Yes, I did.
What for?
What I was initially charged with?
Yes.
I was initially charged with possession for sale and evading arrest.
Right. So, and those were the counts that led to the conviction, right?
Yes.
Right. So, therefore, it's drug-related conviction.
I made it very clear on my plea that I was not pleading to any drug-related case, and there's nothing in the case in the conviction.
Okay.
It's not a drug conviction; it's conspiracy.
Fair enough.
And it was
have you ever been convicted for having assaulted your ex-wife?
I did plead to, yes.
So you have been convicted for family violence for assaulting a family member?
I had a misdemeanor conviction for a scuffle in the house back in 2012, 2015 or so. Maybe 2013, 14, I don't recall.
Okay. You were interviewed by Ms. Heiserman from the CPA, is that correct?
Briefly, yes, over the phone.
Over the phone, okay.
Something wrong with the signal here. Oh, no. I don't know if you can hear me. It's all froze up. The DA's signal's all froze.
You're right.
Froze up here.
Oh. We're good. We're getting a good signal here. I don't know what's going on. I don't hear anything.
I can still see the other screen seem to be. It's just the DA. Oh, there he is. He's back.
I'm back. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear any answer from my last question.
And we couldn't hear anything either. That's why I got up.
Okay. Okay. So my question is, when you were interviewed by Ms. Heiserman from the CPS, did you get to admit her? I mean, did you get to admit to her that you had anger management problems?
Not specifically, no, I didn't say that.
By no specifically, what do you mean? Did you tell her that you have anger management problems or that you may have them or not?
She asked me if I get angry, and I said, yeah, I get angry just like any. And she's like, do you get overly angry? I said, maybe sometimes. So if that's what you mean by an admission, then I guess I didn't say I have a problem with anger.
Okay.
That's open to interpretation. A problem is.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Stay there. Oh, yeah. I would like to call some other witnesses that are in Hawaii that have been waiting for a long time to get them released.
Okay, so no questions of your client at this time?
Not at this time. I would like to get rid of these other, I mean, not get rid of them. I'd like to dispose of them as early as possible because they've been since 4:30 this morning.
Yeah, I know, I got to 4:32, but you know, that happens. You may call your first witness.
Okay. We call it
John.
his name John
Kikino.
John Kikino.
Yes, sir.
John Katina. Can you spell your last name?
Kekino. It's pronounced Kekino.
Kikino.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Kikino, would you state for the record your full and complete name?
John Kekino.
Mr. Kikino, where do you reside?
Right now, I'm back and forth, Hawaii and Las Vegas.
Back and forth between Hawaii and Las Vegas?
Yeah, we're in transition at the moment.
Okay.
To Las Vegas.
Okay. And let me ask you, do you know the Setsko family?
I know Walter and his brothers, the two brothers that I met, his other brothers.
Okay. Did you know Walter's family did you know Walter and his family when they were living in Hawaii?
Oh, of course.
How often did you see them?
When he wasn't busy at work, I would see him quite a lot. You know, we would talk, we would meet up a lot and just spend time together. I used to train him in martial arts, so we spent a lot of time together.
So you were his martial arts trainer?
Yes.
And did you also train any of his children?
I trained Ryan, yes.
Ryan is the oldest daughter.
Oh, Lily I've trained.
Yeah, Lillian. Her name is that Lillian Ryan?
That's Lily Ryan.
Yeah, that's the same one.
Same one, yeah.
And you saw her testify earlier in this case, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how often did you see Lillian?
How what?
How often would you see Lillian when y'all were in
I believe it was maybe twice a week.
Twice a week.
But I would see her out and about, you know. She'd be at the coffee store down the road from where we used to train, or she would be hanging out with her friends. So I would see her quite often.
Okay. Did you also have the opportunity to observe any of the other children that were in part of the Setsko family?
Yes. I believe Ryan has an older sister.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah.
I'm talking about the Setsko family and his immediate family, the kids and him and the
kids. Oh, the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
I went to the house a few times, you know, just to say hi, and because he was too busy working. So I went by to say hi a few times when they were living by the school, just to check on them, you know, see how the kids and him were doing, because he was a single parent. You know what I mean? It's not easy for a man to raise children on his own, especially children that is not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me, he took the initiative to be a dad to these kids that their mom couldn't even do the job. So he took the initiative to be their parent.
Okay.
You know?
And from what you observed, was he a hardworking parent?
Yeah,
Was
very.
now, there's been accusations that he was an alcoholic.
Objection, Your Honor. I think that is not relevant at this point in time because we have no problem in admitting that he was a hardworking person.
I'll sustain. Let's move on.
All right. And have you observed anything to indicate that he was an alcoholic?
No, I never figured him to be one. I mean, he had drinks just like any other parent would do, you know, like I do. We have drinks every now and then, but to me, from what I've witnessed, no.
And if he had been an alcoholic, do you think he could have been working 70 hours a week like he was working?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody can be an alcoholic and work 70 hours a week.
And you observed this man working, performing that task 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
When he came to your shop to take martial arts training, was he intoxicated in any of those cases?
Never.
And how often would he come in to get trained, to participate in training?
He would be there every day, Monday through Friday.
So
this was when he was not working, though. You know.
Okay.
I've known Walter since I believe 2009. That's when I first started training. So I've trained him throughout these years, off and on. You know.
Now you had an opportunity to observe the children in this case. Did you ever find them to have any bruises, look like they've been beaten up, or not cared for?
Not once, no.
And you never saw any black eyes or anything like that?
No. Nothing to that effect, no.
Well, did the kids seem happy when you were around?
Oh yeah, you know, they would say, "Hi, Uncle, how you doing?" You know, they would come up to me, give me a hug and whatnot, and you know, we would exchange hugs, and it seemed normal to me. It seemed like everybody was getting along fine.
Okay, we'll pass the witness.
Your Honor, I have a few questions for the gentleman here.
Okay.
Mr. I can't remember your last name. You have to apologize me.
It's okay. Kikino.
Kikino?
Kikino.
Kikino, Mr. Kikino.
Yes.
You said that you would check on the kids from time to time, right? And while Walter was at work. So
I never said that. I said I would go drop by the house. Walter was at home with the kids when I would stop by.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood that point.
All right.
So you will check on them, and how long will you be there? Like at the time?
Say maybe 15 minutes at most.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
After dinner or just before dinner?
I think it'll be prior to dinner.
Prior to dinner.
Yeah.
So you rarely have been in that house after dinner.
What's that?
You rarely have been in that house after dinner.
Yes, I can't say that I've ever been to the house after dinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. When did you meet Mr. Setsko, Walter Setsko?
Back in 2009.
And in what circumstances or where did you meet him?
He walked into our gym, and that was the first time we met each other. And I can say that he's like a brother to me. You know, we're really close. He always comes to me for advice when he's dealing with things. So
Right.
it's always, we're always there for each other, put it that way. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you basically will hang out with him at the gym. And when did he start? When did he start training on a regular basis? Approximately.
Since then, since
Since then.
2009, yeah.
And did you mention the frequency of his training schedule before?
When we first started training, he first came in, he was very committed, and he knew that there is rules to being a martial artist, Violence is one of them. You don't teach someone to be
Well,
a martial artist.
I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you about how often he would be training with you.
He'll come train every
That's my
day.
only question.
He'll come train every day.
Every day.
Every day.
And how long will be training each day? Like how long is a session?
Anywhere for from an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. So he will work 10 hours a day. And then he
now
will
we're gonna straighten things out. This is when he first started training. After he went to work, there was no time to train, but we would talk all the time. We still would stay in contact, and he would, he would confide in me of how much he's working and the 10-hour days are driving him. It'll drive anybody a little bit, man. 70 hours a week is crazy. I wouldn't be working. I wouldn't recommend anyone to do that.
Sure. I can imagine.
But he needed to provide for his family.
Yeah.
Because nobody else was.
Yeah. I think we are jumping out of the scope of my questions here.
All right.
So when he started, he was committed to it, and so his frequency was like every day, an hour and a half. So did he lower that frequency at some point in time, or he has been training that hard? Also, yeah.
I'm going to object. I'm not sure.
Well,
let me finish objection.
I just want to know. I'm sorry.
It's redundant. He's gone over this more than once, and I'm not sure that it's relevant. Two things is it's redundant, and we're wasting time with it, and where he's going with this doesn't seem to be relevant to anything.
I'm sorry.
I'll overrule. I'll give a little add to it, but then move on.
Okay. So let's say that 2 or 3 years before he moved to Corsicana, basically 2020, 2019, those 2 years prior to him moving to Texas, how would you say his frequency of training would be?
Oh, we didn't really train that much during that time.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. During the past, I would say 3 years, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you will still hang out with him from time to time?
Oh, yeah, we still talk all the time.
Okay. I don't have any further questions at this point.
All right. Mr. Polk, any other further questions of Mr. Kikino?
No, Your Honor, I really don't.
All right. You may call your next witness.
We call Miss Ambrose. Miss Ambrose?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Miss Ambrose, I'm sorry, but would you give us your full and complete name?
Let me go ahead and swear her in. Ma'am, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed.
Ms. Ambrose, would you state for the record your full and complete name?
My full name is Harry Dean Ambrose.
And Ms. Ambrose, where do you live?
In Kihei, Maui, Hawaii.
Okay. And do you know the Setsko family that's involved in this case?
Yes, I do. Both both Walter and Chelsea.
Okay. And how long have you known them?
I've known Walter since 2012, 2013. And I've known Chelsea since she was little, because in Hawaii, we adopt children, and she's like my Hanai niece. And that's why I was renting my home to her and her family. And that was during her first marriage and the various uncles that came through the house. And then the last one, her second husband, was Walter.
Okay. And so you've known this family, the core family, for a long time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, during this time that Walter was there, did you observe anything to indicate that he had abused any of these children?
No, not at all.
Did you ever observe any bruises, like severe injuries to these kids as a result of Walter's abuse of them?
No, actually, I didn't even know he was abusive.
Okay.
Sorry, I never saw that character come out because the kids were little. I mean, I remember when Katie was born and Donnie was born, and the birthday parties they had for the children, and the swap meets that the girls went. Maddie, I believe at that time was, when they moved into my home, I believe Maddie was like 7th grade, 8th grade. So Lily and Ryan were very little, and they were very smart girls. One liked to draw a lot, one liked to talk a lot and read books, and I believe Ryan was the reader. But all in all, they were regular kids, and Walter took on another person's job. Todd was the first husband, but he had health issues and he really couldn't care for Chelsea and the children the way Walter could. You know, he couldn't provide financially because my daughter hired.
Your Honor, I have to object to this because this is like a story of our
Okay,
life.
that's fine. But I just know Chelsea and Walter for a long
I
time.
can tell the story of my life if you all want.
Okay, that's the same.
Now, but basically what you're telling this court is there was nothing to indicate that these kids were being abused in Hawaii over the last 10 years.
Objection, Your Honor. She is not any kind of expert. She wasn't there like 24/7. A relative of the family who happened to have witnessed like happily scenes of the family. That's it. I don't think we should be like digging into this because we can bring the entire island of Hawaii.
Ma'am, you may respond to any personal knowledge you have of things you witnessed. Other than that, you may not testify.
You've never observed anything to indicate that.
No, I beg to differ. That was my home that I was renting to them. And they can always call me in case something broke or something was being repaired. So I would spend hours in that home. So you cannot tell me that I don't have some kind of relationship with Walter, Chelsea, as well as the children.
But no one said that, Miss. This is just. I don't know if someone is gonna like put an.
Do you have an objection?
I have the same objection as the one that I did before. I mean, she's just she's not answering, and she's just telling who knows who that, hey, don't tell me what to say or what to say. I mean, that is not how a witness should be answering.
Okay, Ms. Ambrose, just respond to the question, then there can be follow-up questions.
Okay. Now, I really have no further questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Palame, any questions of this witness?
Yeah, I have a question here. Again, I'm very forgetful about names. Miss Ambers, is that correct? Okay, Miss Ambers. Have you ever seen Walter Setko getting into a fight with any person whatsoever, not a member of the family, with some neighbor, with some bystander? Have you ever seen him getting involved in a fight?
No.
You sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Not even one time?
No, we asked and answered.
Also same.
If I saw him fighting with someone, I would tell you I saw him fighting with someone.
Okay, I believe you. I just wanted to make sure. No, no further question.
All right. Anything further, Mr. Polk, of this witness?
No, yeah, I don't have anything for it.
All right. Ma'am, you're free to go or free to stay. Do you have any other witnesses, Mr. Polk?
Yes, we call Mr. Setsko, Walter Setsko.
Okay. Sir, you're still under oath and all right. You may proceed.
Walter, you don't mind if I call you Walter?
No, sir.
Yeah,
No,
all right.
sir.
When you were in Hawaii, you heard the allegations that you frequently abused your children.
I heard my daughter saying that, yeah.
Okay. This is really your stepdaughter, is that correct?
Yes.
And when did you first meet her?
2011, November 2011.
November 2011. And you met her through her mom?
I take that back. I met her in 2009, but I started dating her mother in 2011. So I met her in 2009. She was.
You started dating her mother in 2011. And what's the mother's name?
Chelsea Setsko.
Chelsea Setsko. And were there any problems with Chelsea Setsko when you started dating her in 2011?
No problems.
No problem. Did some problem come up later?
Yeah, she if you're asking about her drug habit.
Well, yes.
Yes, she developed a addiction initially to methamphetamine and then exclusively heroin. And then she got a homeless boyfriend and moved into a tent in the bushes somewhere. And
does that did CPS at some point come to take those kids?
Her house got raided for drugs and for a gun specifically they were looking for one morning when I was there to pick her up from school.
Pick who up from school?
The kids, to pick them up for school after we had separated.
So you weren't living there at the house?
No. She had a new boyfriend and a drug problem and I couldn't stay there.
So, but you came to pick up the kids to take them to school in the morning?
Every day.
You did that every day?
Every day, to and from school, yes.
You picked them up in the morning, took them to school, and picked them up from school and took them back home?
Yes, initially, when I was working for a taxi company then, and my boss gave me leeway to do that.
Okay. And you did that from how long, from when to when?
That was April 2018. And it was only a couple weeks until I showed up to pick her up from the kids up from school. And there was maybe a dozen police officers there in camo fatigues and guns drawn. The kids were in the garage with backpacks and there were some drug addicts handcuffed and sitting on the sidewalk, and Chelsea was handcuffed and sitting in the garage. And I took them that day. I was still married to Chelsea. I didn't have legal custody, but I've been taking care of them since then.
You took care of all of them?
Yeah, I never let him go back to that.
You let them go back to, never let them go back to the house that they were in at that time.
Right.
And what did you do? What did you do for a house for them to stay in?
At that time, I was renting a room in the neighborhood, in a house, in somebody else's house, and I had several other roommates. So we spent maybe a few nights there. Then I rented a 2-bedroom house. We spent maybe a month there. And then I rented a 3-bedroom house, the last house that the kids and I lived in Hawaii.
Okay. And how much was that costing you a month?
That was altogether just
for the rent.
Just for the rent was $22.50.
$22.50
without utilities and all.
Okay, without the utilities and everything.
Altogether, it was about $2,500 a month. All the expenses. Yeah.
And how would you pay for that?
I'd write a check.
Objection, Your Honor. It's totally irrelevant. We are, okay.
Okay. And well, how long did you work a week?
Consistently, at least 60 hours, upwards of 70 hours every week.
60 to 70 hours every week.
Yeah, average, I'd say average 65, 70 hours. Yeah.
And how many days a week did you work?
6 to 7 days. I had to take 7 days because the work was available, but I had to take at least 2 days a month off generally, just to take care of the stuff around the house and stuff for the kids, doctor's appointments, school registration, just stuff, laundry. Sometimes the kids fall behind on just regular stuff, car maintenance, car registration.
But
so 6 to 7 days a week.
Would it be fair to say that it's very expensive living in Hawaii?
Your Honor, objection here, because I don't think it's getting anywhere.
Okay. Now,
yeah, can we move on?
Yes, we can. I'm trying to move on to a point. And the point is, did you have to, when you did have time off, did you discipline your children?
If they needed it, if they were slacking. I mean, I had, like Ryan testified earlier, my biggest rule was keeping the house clean. And for the most part, they did that. There was a couple times where there was more, where I spanked my son, or I slapped my daughter for lying to me one time. I mean, discipline, it was not regular discipline. Discipline as far as taking their phones away all the time, take them away, give them back, ground them so they can't see their friends, that kind of discipline. One time ever, I've slapped Ryan in the face for lying to me about, and I don't mean I remember she said backhand. I've never backhanded any one of my kids ever in my life. And the way that she describes it makes me sound like a madman.
Okay, she did say that it was on her leg. The backhand was on her leg, not on her thighs, which I think she said. Now, you use your hands to use corporal punishment with him?
About one time a piece, except for Donnie. One time I kicked him in the butt. Not real hard, but other than that, they've all been spanked one time. Well, except for Donnie. Donnie's been spanked once and kicked in the butt one time. Other than that,
this is for their whole life.
Their whole entire life.
And you this is not something that you regularly did.
No.
And why did you do those in those incidents that you described? Why were you doing that?
It just got to the point of frustration where, you know, I feel bad about taking their phones away, and I almost instantly give them back, and I talk to them about pulling their weight.
Let me rephrase the question. Were you trying to discipline them to do something that they should be doing?
Yes.
That was the reason why you did what you did.
Yeah, it was generally they get just they're slacking, and they get used to me being loose in my other punishments, and so I give them a spank. And lying was the worst thing they could do, and so
that was severe to you to be lying to you about anything.
That's as bad as it gets to me.
Okay, now we Did you smoke pot with your daughter?
No.
You ever smoke pot with her?
No.
You drank beer with her?
Never.
You never drank any beer with her?
I've never drinking with my daughter. No.
You drank with any of the rest of any of the other kids?
No.
So her story today to the court that you were in there smoking pot with her and Joe was what?
It's just absolutely false. It's just a lie. It's a more than an embellishment. It's just a falsehood. It's a lie.
Okay. Now, I want to go back to February the 25th. You heard your father say that after dinner he went to sleep. After he went to sleep, what happened in the house?
That night, well, there was I caught Ryan and Joe smoking pot earlier that day. What you're asking about after he went to sleep. I caught them smoking pot.
You called Joe and Ryan smoking pot earlier that day.
In the barn outside.
In the barn outside. And what did you do at that time?
I sent Joe inside so I could talk to Ryan. And I told Ryan, this is unacceptable. This is my father's house. And what does she think? She can just do whatever she wants now because she's got a new pothead buddy. And she okay. I don't know how
y'all had this conversation in the barn.
Yeah.
And were you upset about her smoking the pot then?
Yes.
And you were trying to discipline her to change that activity.
At that time, I just made her clean the bathroom for the rest of the night. She scrubbed the shower, clean the sink. At that point, that was before dinner.
That was before dinner. Okay. Now let me go back up. What happened after dinner?
After dinner, and I wasn't making a check on the room, but I could smell the pot coming out of the kid's room, out of my younger brother's room, adopted brother's room.
Okay, this is Joe.
Yeah.
You smelled the pot coming out of Joe's room.
Yeah, and I had gone upstairs to where Ryan and the kids sleep and stay, and Ryan wasn't up there. And so I had a feeling she was down in the room with Joe. So I walked over there and I could instantly smell the pot coming out of the room.
And what did you do?
I walked in there and I was mad as hell. And I told her, get up to her room and go to bed. And I don't want to hear a peep from upstairs. And she did. And I don't remember saying a word to Joe. And I remember me and him were on no uncomfortable terms or no awkward or no angry terms ever at any point during my stay there up until that last night.
Okay, so what did you?
So I didn't say anything to him. I told her to go to bed, get upstairs, and I kind of mulled it over for not more than maybe 10 seconds, and I followed her up the stairs. And I said, I don't remember what I did first. I think it was the phone I took away first. Took her phone away, and I told her she wasn't allowed to go to her band practice that she had that night or the following weekend. I don't remember. It was in the next couple. I was trying to come up with punishments, and I told her, and then I took her phone, and I started to walk down the stairs, and I turned around and I said, you know what? You want to be a hippie? You want to be a pothead? You want to be, punk and gothic? I said, those piercings are coming out tonight. Take out the piercings right now. And she acted like she was trying to unscrew the piercings. She was saying that they were stuck. I said, all right, take out the other one. And I knew for a fact these piercings came out easily. I've seen them just fall out. They come off even accidentally. And I know that the teacher, they're not allowed in her school, but she wears face covering in the school, so she gets away with it. But when the teacher does catch her doing it, the teacher makes her take them out, and they come out real easy at that time. So what it boils down to is,
objection, Your Honor, he doesn't know what the teacher does, or I mean, that is not a direct testimony of that night.
Okay, well, I know that this. I'll say I know the piercings come out.
What's your objection?
My objection is that the answer that he's providing is overbroad. I mean, it falls out of the scope. He's talking about what the teacher says, what the teacher.
Okay, I'll sustain.
Okay, so I knew that these piercings come out easy enough. And so she refused to take him out. I told her, I'm going downstairs to get a pair of cutters to take him out. So maybe you should have those taken out by the time I get back upstairs. When I went downstairs, I knew where the dikes were. I picked up a pair of dikes, they're metal cutters. And I went back up and she was acting like she was still trying to get him out. And I walked over, she was sitting on the bed. I walked over to the corner of the bed and she stood up and moved away. And I grabbed her and I pushed her back on the bed, by her shoulder area and I guess shoulder arm area. And she had her hands up and she's trying to fight me she won't let me take them out. And so I swiped her hands out of the way. And I know that she had a scratch on her forehead, a little red scratch. I don't know. We talked about the pictures earlier.
It was a red scratch. Where does that come
from? From my hand, swiping her hands out of the way. She calmed down. She stopped struggling, and I very gently, very carefully cut those things out of her face. And
you took those out. That was part of the smoking pot. Is that right?
Yeah, and just her general disobedience and just rebellion and empowerment.
Okay. Let's get back to, you told her that she wanted to be a hippie.
Yeah, and she's saying that she says you hate me because I'm gay, or you just don't like Joe because he's a liberal, or we're liberals. And I said, this has got nothing to do with your politics or your sexuality or my politics. And she's saying, well, you only love people that are Republicans. And I said, I love the whole family, and the other kids are Republicans. We're on one side, you're on the other. That's just fine. She said, well, that's fine. At some point, she said, I said, so, okay, you hate America so much, you hate politics so good. Why don't you go to Mexico then? You want to be a communist, you can live in, you make your way down to Venezuela and be a socialist. And so she gets out a suitcase and she starts packing a bag, like I'm going to let her leave the state. And so I stand there for a minute and I said, no, you're not leaving the house. And so she's like got her blanket in one arm. And she's like, well, you want me to go to Mexico, right? And I said, well, okay, the garage is Mexico tonight. You want to go to Mexico? Why don't you see how you like it in the garage? That's a taste of Mexico for you. No smoking pot out there. And we go down the stairs. And by now, we get to the bottom of the stairs and my dad's coming out of his room as she's walking in there with a blanket and she lays down in the corner of the garage. And my dad's coming out saying, what's going on? And no, I had talked to my dad about the pot smoking and the drinking earlier. And that same day, it might have been the day before, my dad walked into that room and he saw the booze bottles all over
whose room?
Joe's room.
You walked into Joe's room and saw booze bottles.
I mean, other than the dirty clothes and the food everywhere, just disgusting mess. There was booze, but not just beer bottles. There was like some kind of spicy whiskey or something. And because I'd walked in there before too, and I'd seen it, and he said, "Well, that's okay as long as they get good grades." And
so that was his attitude about
A's and B's. He said, as long as they get A's and B's. And I told him, well, my kids get A's, B's, and C's, and they got to behave, and they're not allowed to drink or smoke pot, and they got to clean the house. And he said, well, it's just one of the things that I about, and
okay, and
I lost my train.
Okay, that's fine. So when your father came out, that's when.
Oh yeah, and I said,
when he came out, and that's when you were talking to what's her name, the daughter,
Ryan
about.
Yeah, so I'm following her into the garage. I'm not going to let her sleep in the garage.
Okay, but anyway, when he came out, he said you start yelling at him. Well, did he have some?
Well, I told him you stay out of this. This is because of your lack of discipline that we're doing all this right now, because your son wants to be a pothead and smoke weed in his room, that my daughter's now thinks it's okay to do that in the house. So you just stay out of this. I'm talking to my daughter right now. And well, what's all the yelling? And now Joe had come out of his room and walked over toward where we were all standing by the garage door. And he's asking, well, Joe's not a pothead, is he? Well, I said, well, yes, he is. I caught him twice today smoking pot. Ask Ryan. And Ryan's like, you just don't like him because he's gay. And I said, oh, you guys can be gay. That's okay. I don't, because my daughter is
Your Honor, I think we are going over this one
So he
time.
asked me what happened. That's exactly what happened. My daughter, he said, you don't like Joe
Hold on,
because.
I object, this is going to underation.
Okay, I'll sustain.
Okay.
Now, did you strike anybody?
Never, not, well, my
No,
daughter accidentally with my fingernail.
Well, but on this night, other than the fingernail deal, did you strike anybody?
No. No, and I wasn't raging mad either to yelling, screaming from one room to the
Okay,
other.
why did you?
Acting like I was blacked out.
Let me ask you a question. Why did you tell your dad to sit down in a chair?
Yeah, because he came out of the room without a walker, and I told him to sit down, man, relax. He's in the middle. He needed a walker to get around the house.
So is that because
I
he
did
had? Hold on. Let me ask you a question.
Oh.
Is that because he had had both knees surgery on both knees?
Yes.
And you saw him standing there without his walker?
Yeah, wobbly, holding onto the doorknob, and I said, just sit down, stay out of this.
Yeah, and you went and got him a chair for him to sit down.
Yes, I pulled it from the table.
Now, Mr. Question. Did it appear to you that if you hadn't got the chair, he might have fallen? Yes or no?
Objection, Your Honor, that speculative.
I'll overrule.
I'd say yes. He doesn't go from the car to the house without his walker. So yes.
So that's why you got the chair for him.
Yes.
And you would tell him to sit down in the chair.
Well, yes, I got it for him to sit down. I said, have a seat, stay out of this. You want me to get your walker? And
okay, now they talked about you were drinking booze. Did you drink booze by yourself that night?
No.
Who was drinking booze with you?
No, booze. It was 6-pack of beer and a bottle of wine. I had got 2 bottles of wine. It was my father.
Did anybody drink that with you?
My father.
So what's your father's name? Don?
Donald Setsko.
Don Setsko. Don Setsko was drinking the booze with you?
Yes.
You weren't drinking it with your dog?
No, with my father.
And you weren't drinking it with your brother, Joe?
No.
Does Don Setsko drink beer regularly himself?
That's objection, Your Honor. That's not relevant at all. They are.
I'll sustain.
Now, other than have there ever been any injuries to these kids from any discipline that you've given them? Injuries?
No.
There ever been any medical necessities from anybody having to attend to them from any corporal punishment that you may have given to them in the past?
Not from the spank on the butt or the smack on the cheek, which is the extent of what they've ever received. No, there's never been.
Never. No. Have they ever had to miss school for an injury as a result of anything that you may have done to them? We heard testimony about you took one child and kicked the child in the stomach and drug the child out to the gravel and threw him on the gravel. Which child was that?
She was saying that I did that to Lillian about her lying about her phone.
Okay, that true?
No.
First of all, if you had kicked her in the stomach, would you be concerned about a medical bill after that?
Absolutely. She's a little girl. I'm a strong guy. I'm nowhere near what my father said, 240 pounds. I'm 190 pounds. But I'm a really strong guy and I kick hard. So if I'm going to kick a kid anywhere, they're going to, besides the butt, they're going to be hurt. Yeah. But I know that, I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead of your question.
Okay. So that didn't happen?
No, I've never kicked any of my daughters.
Okay.
I kicked my son in the butt once for nothing.
And was it a kick or push?
My son?
Yeah.
It was a kick in the butt, a kick in the pants for he had not rinsed his dish. We had gone over this rinsing your dishes in the sink instead of just throwing them, and you rinse them, put them in the strainer. And I'm not talking about it.
So that happened one time?
For my son, yeah.
Is there any chance that you're going to be violent with your children in the future about any of this?
Absolutely not. I just want my babies back. I'm not mad about them. I'm not mad at my kids. I'm not even mad at Ryan. Well, I'm a little upset with Ryan, but I'm not going to be violent to my kids. Okay? I will spank my kids if they need a spanking. My stepdaughters, I've never been inclined to spank them or any of my kids, but if my son or my daughter, biological children, especially like Katie, I spanked her in the butt one time for digging her fingernails into her sister and making her bleed. These are the kind of things a kid needs to spank on the butt for.
And you rarely use corporal punishment.
I think I've outlined every single time in the last 5 minutes.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Follow-Me, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further from the respondent?
No, Your Honor.
Any rebuttal?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll take closing.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. I'll try to be brief in my closing arguments. But what we have here is not a corporal punishment that is something inherent, at least in Texas, according to the Texas case law, inherent in the power of the parents to upbring their kids. That's understandable. You know, spank your kid in the butt, things like that. That's understandable. But it's been proven that we are here in a scenario that goes way far beyond what is punishment or what is spanking. We need to take into consideration that in order to assess whether we are in the parental punishment sphere or we are jumping into what is family violence, there are certain factors that the courts consider that we should take into account. One of those factors is the mental and emotional state of the perpetrator. Okay, and according to the testimonies, what we have here is someone who, out of the blue, would snap at anybody in the house, would get violent, I would holler at them, I would threaten at them for minor aspects. So there is an unproportionate kind of like force application under those circumstances. So on the top of that, if you add the fact that it's been said by two witnesses that he drinks often at home and he drinks severely when he gets back home, then you have all the ingredients for someone who doesn't control his temper and doesn't really stay under the criteria of what the punishment to your kids would be. So the severity of the physical harm is also another factor. And it's been said that, hey, they didn't miss school. Well, you don't have to miss school to have bruises. You don't need to miss school to feel pain. That's something very, very, very obvious. Kids are resilient. And if they live in an environment of violence, they carry on. They try to move on. So whether they miss school, whether they have medical reports on the injuries, I don't think that has a direct impact on our analysis of the existence of family violence here. We have to just take into account that here someone has been dragging his daughter, grabbing her by her hair and dragging her all the way out and throwing her on the ground. I don't know about the visible injuries there, but that is a severe punishment. That is something that goes beyond what is proportionate. Okay, kicking a 7-year-old boy, that's something that goes beyond too. And not only physical abuse has occurred here, but we are also talking about different other types of family violence, like the aggressiveness, his body language, his approach, his aggressive approach he's yelling, he's hollering, he's mocking, he's belittling. I mean, Ryan Robertson has relayed a bunch of instances, and to be honest, I mean, that was very powerful and credible testimony on how he was kind of like holding every single comment that they would throw against them, and then he would take it from there and he would escalate to an unproportionate violence. Okay, so there have been threats, there have been yelling, there have been aggressiveness, psychological pressure in the house, and it's been very, very easy just by the way she has delivered her testimony. Also, we have to also pay attention to what happened with his folk. I mean, you don't have to hit your folk for doing family violence. He confronted his elderly father and called him names, intimidated him, pushed him on the chair, making all a scene, being disrespectful, and that is family violence too. Even if he only shoved his father a little bit or pushed him a little bit, that is also that. Sir, sir, keep quiet, please. That is also family violence according to the definition that is contained in the family code. Okay, so then we have also here acts of violence, physical abuse, also inflicted to other siblings and to his former wife. And everything goes in every direction, right? So everyone has witnessed someone else being beaten up by this man.
Judge, we object to any allegation about the wife because that occurred over 5 years ago.
Was there any testimony about that?
Yes, Your Honor. There was some testimony that somebody said something about that they had gotten.
Oh, the conviction?
Yeah.
No. I think Mr. Polk is referring to the testimony of Ryan Robertson about the respondent beating up her mom, like hurting her mom.
That testimony was while when they were together, and they've been apart for over 4 years.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's already been testified to, then I'll overrule. Let's proceed.
Okay. So what the defense, I mean, what the respondent's attorney is trying to do, or has been trying to do, is just putting the focus on the incident of February the 25th, all along. And that incident was the culmination of a sequence of violence that have been perfectly detailed and relayed by the witness Ryan Robertson. And it's striking that they didn't really go through each of those instances. They have been only providing their version of the night of the 25th of February, but they never ever mentioned the specific instances that we have been going through, especially this morning. So they have kind of like left aside the what is the core of this showing that we are doing here about family violence. They just stick to the incident of the 25th because that's probably the more lenient one, probably the less serious according to the testimony given by Ryan Robertson. But they have not confronted the testimony of Ryan Robertson in relation to those other instances. They haven't gone through one of each. So by preponderance of evidence, Your Honor, I think that is pretty straightforward and pretty clear that those instances occurred. And we have what we have. We have the testimonies, okay? We have Ryan's testimony and the respondent testimony, okay? Ryan is not the applicant, okay? It's a third party. And Walter is the respondent. He's a party. So Your Honor will have to assess, the weight of the credibility of each of these individuals in order to determine whether there has been family violence in this case. Okay. So the evidence provided by the opposing party has been extremely weak. Why? Because they only have provided testimony of some friends out of Hawaii who happen to know the respondent, who would check on the family from time to time, spending 15 minutes every day, and never, ever after dinner. Never after dinner, which is the period of time when it has been proven that the respondent drinks at home and the respondent snaps at everyone and the respondent goes crazy and the violence ensues. Okay, so the testimony provided does not help at all to kind of like confront the testimony provided by the state. No one else has been hanging out in that house for over the months, over the years. They haven't brought anyone, any relative, any other friend that would stay over dinner and on a regular basis, of course. No, just a guy, just a friend of him, his trainer, who happened that during a period of time would just show up there. How are you doing, guys? And that's it. The other lady that testified also the same thing. She was relaying about the happily family, happy family in birthday parties and all that. But she wasn't there. She wasn't late at night. She wasn't there. After dinner when the respondent started drinking heavily. So it's for no use, for no avail, for no purpose at all. They haven't provided anything to contrast, to confront, to combat, to contest the powerful testimony of Ryan Robertson, the powerful testimony of Donald Sesko, and basically those testimonies. And family violence has existed. So that's one prong of the family code. And there is likelihood that family violence occur again. Of course. Why shouldn't it? I mean, he's around. He's been an abuser for over the recent times. So is there anything that we should be aware of that would make him now a nice person and would change him suddenly and make him fit to be around these kids? I don't think so. They haven't come up with anything that would present a different scenario now. Okay, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They haven't seen him during this period of time, but we don't know if he has changed. We don't know if he has completely transformed in a different person. So there's no reason to believe why he shouldn't be doing the same thing if he continues to be around these kids. So I think the likelihood for the family violence to occur in the future is very straightforward. It's just inherent in the setting of circumstances that we have here in hand. So lastly, as I said before, they only focus on the incident of the 25th. They haven't provided anything to confront the rest of the incidents, the rest of the instances that we have been relayed here, and we have proved by the testimony of Ryan Robertson. And finally, just to be honest, let's think about this. Okay, this is something that has to be seen under the preponderance of evidence criteria. Okay, I mean criteria. Okay, are we gonna put this family at risk right now, or is it worth keeping this person away for a while? And I'm not denying the possibility, I'm not refusing the possibility of having some kind of visitation rights. That's compatible. Supervised visitation rights, okay? If this protective order is granted, I don't think this family would be reluctant to kind of like agree on certain kind of supervised visitation rights. I'm not sure, but I believe my impression is that they wouldn't be close to it, to that possibility. But at least they deserve to be protected for a while. 2 years is the maximum duration. 1 year, we are asking for 2 years, to be honest. That is the minimum that this family deserves, according to what we have seen today and the display of evidence that both parties have done today. No further comment, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, I think it's quite clear that you have a rebellion juvenile child, 16, and she's got a claim. She feel very important at this point. And
objection, Your Honor. He doesn't have any idea how important she feels. That's
this is closing arguments.
I haven't. Well,
I'll overrule closing argument. You can make the deductions, and it's not evidence. Proceed.
The point being here is that she first of all tells you that her dad smokes pot with her. This is how they bond together. There's nothing about their relationship when she's talking about it that indicates that they bonded by smoking pot. In fact, he's the disciplinarian. What I'm hearing from her is that he's the disciplinarian. He comes in, he disciplines the kids, but there's no issue. There's no issue that they're buddies and he's smoking pot with them. There's a wall there. You heard Mr. Sesko, Don Sesko, the Walter's father testify. He's never seen him smoke pot with any of those kids. He's never seen him drinking any beer or alcohol with any of them. You got other people who've observed him in Hawaii who come in and say the same thing. They never seen him doing anything but being a hardworking single parent trying to take care of these kids. Nothing to indicate that he was smoking pot or doing any drinking beer with them ever. This is preposterous. And what's going on here is that Don Sesko, the grandfather at this point, has come in and basically for his own personal reason has kind of pushed this to the point where she feels enabled. She feels liberty. She's got power now. She can do whatever, the part of my expression, the hell she wants in his house, and she don't have to deal with any more discipline whatsoever. They brought in these grades. I don't know why that phone is ringing, but they brought in the grades. And if you look at those grades, they were doing good when they first enrolled in school. And now they're going to say that Don Sesko is the reason for that. No, he's had them for all these years. They've always done good in school. He's always insisted that they made good grades. So he didn't have anything to do with that. In fact, some of the grades really went down since they've been with him. You can look at that yourself.
No one has been talking about how well.
I'm doing my closing argument, please. The other thing is, she's testified that when you first heard her testify, she got backhanded. You thought, well, she got backhanded in her face or somewhere, but she's saying she got backhanded on her thigh. Probably for, I don't know whether that was for mouthing off or doing whatever during the conversation. But this man has done nothing but be a parent. And for a parent for you to argue family violence against a parent, you got to come up with more than just force against them. It has to be, you have to look at the severity of the force. You have to look at whether it was done during a period when he was trying to discipline and train and direct them into a place where they needed to go. Obviously, he does not want, obviously there's a problem with, and I hate to put it this way, but there's a problem with the former wife, what's her name, Chelsea, and her being a drug addict. I think that he'd be very sensitive about this child smoking pot, getting an attitude that it's okay to smoke pot, or for that matter, to be drinking alcohol. This is not something this parent would be doing. I'm sure that the daughter here would rather have an environment where that was permissive. We're asking the court to, first of all, there wasn't any family violence on the night of February the 25th. This was simply a parent finding their child who he believes to be in a very vulnerable state of mind and exposure, smoking pot in the house, around the house with what's his name? Joe, with Joe, the uncle. They're about the same age. And yes, he was extremely upset. Yes, he was hoping to put the fear of God in her, that she would redirect her activities and her mind and thinking. That's what we have in this situation, not family violence. He's trying to do a job. He's trying to do a job that one of the other witnesses said that really wasn't his job to do, but he took it on. We're asking the court to deny this motion for the extended protective order. And we're asking the court to also deny for two reasons. One, there's no indication that he's done anything that has been violent to these children other than discipline, which our family code does allow in Texas. I don't know about Hawaii, but that is allowed in Texas. I'm sure it's allowed in Hawaii as well. With that being said, I think you've heard the evidence. You've heard from very credible people, witnesses from Hawaii who know the family, known them for a long time, and will tell you that this was not a case in which these kids were being abused and they weren't being taken care of by Walter. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Parliament, you have the last say. Your motion.
Further closing arguments, Your Honor?
Yeah, I mean, you have right to open and close. That's basically what I was saying.
Yeah. Well, just to finish this off, I would just say that we are not judging, the respondent's ability to be a good father, or to be a hardworking person, or to buy expensive clothes or toys, or to provide for his family. We are not judging how good buddy he was with his friend. We are not evaluating how much money he would make in Hawaii, how good the house was. We are not considering all those aspects. And again, Mr. Park has been trying to distract the debate and put it away from what the focus should be, okay? Which is several instances of family violence. He has said once again that he was disciplining his kid, referring to the 25th. He didn't even in the closing arguments make any reference to those specific instances. November 2020, February 2020, January 2021, those instances that we have been going through, they have been quiet about it. So the only thing that we have to be looking at, Your Honor, is just existence of family violence, for the family violence to occur. in the future.
Hold on one second. Leslie, you said something?
Yeah, there's interference sometimes while he's speaking.
Okay.
You want me to get back a bit or?
It's just closing, so.
Well, I was just finishing up saying that let's not try to put the attention somewhere else. Let's focus on the specific instances that we have been reviewing in this hearing, and let's grant this protective order for this family. They deserve to keep this man away for a while. It's not the end of the world. This man will have the opportunity to rebuild his life, and will have the opportunity to through the appropriate mechanisms, custody, possession, in different procedures, he will have the opportunity to fight his case and to recover possession. I mean, not possession, to recover the relationship with his kids or whatever. He can rebuild his life. It's just a temporary measure that we asked for 2 years, the maximum extension. That's all.
Sorry, the ones in the very back are the hardest to kind of get in.
So I'm just gonna finish. No further comments.
Do y'all have the exhibits that were admitted? If you can get them to me, I'll have a ruling this weekend. That concludes this hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.